Welcome to the Goodyear City Council meeting. We're excited to have you be a part of this important public process. Tonight, you will have the opportunity to address City Council on both non-agenda and agenda items. You must fill out a speaker request card in order to address the City Council. The agendas and speaker request cards are located in the back of the council chambers. Please drop your completed card in the tray next to the blank speaker cards. If the meeting has already begun, please hand it to the city employee at the back of the room. You may check the "I do not wish to speak" option on the card. This allows you to let council know your opinion without having to speak. In accordance with the Americans with Disabilities Act, please contact a staff member if you need any assistance. Public comment on a non-agenda item will take place during the citizen comment portion of the evening. These are items that don't appear on tonight's formal agenda. The city clerk will call your name when it's time for you to speak. At that time, please approach the podium and tell us your name for the record. You'll have a maximum of 3 minutes. The timer is on the screens visible from the podium. Note that you may also choose not to speak if other speakers before you have said what you wanted to say. Shouting, cheering, and loud noises will not be tolerated, and violators may be removed for disrupting the meeting. Goodyear City Council meetings stream live on Facebook, YouTube, X, and online at goodyearaz.gov. Follow the city's social media pages so you don't miss out on all that's happening in Goodyear. Thank you for coming to this meeting and being an active part of your city. And remember, it's a great time to be in Goodyear.
For December 18th, 2023, go ahead and mark everybody present. Everybody here?
Everybody's here, Mayor.
All right, perfect. Please join Councilmember Loretano in the Pledge of Allegiance and invocation.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this hour and ask for your blessings and help as we gather. We pray for guidance in the matters at hand and ask that you would clearly show us how to conduct our work with a spirit of joy and enthusiasm. Give us the desire to find ways to excel at your work. Help us to come together and encourage each other to excellence. We ask that we challenge each other to reach higher and further to be the best that we can be. Blessings to all during this Christmas season with joy and kindness to our fellow man, and protect all those who serve our city, our country, and their families. In your name, amen. Amen.
Thank you. We have one communication item tonight. We are recognizing the heroic action of Fire Department Crew 183, who are the recipients of the Stars of Life Award. Chief, go ahead and introduce for the public, please.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Paul Louisi, Fire Chief. As you stated, Mayor, we're here to recognize the Crew of 183. The American Ambulance Association on an annual basis has their Stars of Life program. So it's the contributions by professionals who've gone above and beyond the call of duty. So tonight we're very proud to present the members of 183 with the Stars of Life Award for their professionalism and determination in providing outstanding patient care, not only on that day, but really throughout their careers. So I'll have the crew come down now with me. So while they're coming down, excuse me, I'll give you a quick overview of the call. So on May 25th, 2023, Engine 183 was dispatched to a pediatric drowning. They responded to a community pool located within a townhouse complex at Litchfield and Wigwam. On arrival, the crew found an unresponsive 5-year-old male patient on the deck around the pool, without any pulses and not breathing. An Avondale police officer had arrived prior to the engine and began CPR on the patient. He had found the patient in the water unresponsive for an unknown amount of time. The patient and his family are actually from out of town, and they were visiting grandparents that day. Engine 183 rapidly assessed the patient, continued CPR, established an airway, and provided advanced life support medications. After performing 2 cycles of CPR, the crew achieved a return of spontaneous circulation, so breathing and pulses came back. The child was then transported to Phoenix Children's Hospital, which is just about 20 miles away. And the child stayed in the ICU for several days, but was actually able to be discharged without any neurological deficits. And has since returned home to Ohio, where their home is. Goodyear Fire Department has joined a united effort throughout the Phoenix metropolitan area to respond to drowning incidents in a very similar way. Stay on scene for first few minutes, secure the airways, provide CPR, and then provide advanced life support measures. If you can imagine a pit crew at a NASCAR event and how each person has their assignments, the same thing is carried through for our firefighters. Each has their assignment before they arrive on the call. On that day, the crew of 183 relied on their training that had been culturally ingrained and reinforced by proven protocols and to give the patient the best odds of survival. They exhibited professionalism and determination that contributed to the child's chance at life and really a very positive patient outcome. So tonight, I'm honored to give the opportunity to recognize the crew of 183. So with me tonight is Captain Patrick Doyle, Engineer Andrew Goodwin, and firefighters Kyle Durr and Richard Majors for their life-saving interventions demonstrated on that day. So tonight they'll be getting a medal from the American Ambulance Association, also a very nice award that has each of their names on it, and then also the date that it was awarded. So,
Well, let's give him a hand. Congratulations, guys.
you guys each want to grab your. Do a picture?
You want to get?
Yeah.
All right, we're all scooting. Hold on a second. Let's scoot over. We're scooting. Apparently, we want to be awesome.
That's way better.
Yes, hold on. Go ahead.
Guys, I'm trying to figure this out. I want to tell you, well, you already know. I love you. I love all of you. You know that. You guys are exceptional. I've always said we have the best fire department around, and this just goes to show how good you really are. Thanks for taking care of that little guy. Thanks for doing what you do every day. Thanks, Paul, for leading these guys, because you're exceptional too. You know I think that of you too. Thank you for everything you do. I think you're wonderful. Thank you, thank you.
Councilmember Campbell.
Well, I've seen firsthand Patrick and his crew many times in my life, and I can't tell you how many times they saved my husband. So I know how exceptional you are, and I just wanted to tell you how much we appreciate all that you do. And I do agree, you are the best there is, and we appreciate that you're on our team.
Councilmember Lortano.
I want to also thank you all and Paul and thank everybody. This is just one example that we see every day that what you did that day basically changed that family's history. Rather than burying a child, they're going to celebrate Christmas with a child. And you do that every day for people in this community. So thank you very much.
I just want to add, you guys have been at my place multiple times, so unfortunately, I believe one time probably saved my wife's life. So again, I know firsthand how well you guys operate. So again, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now it's time for citizens who would like to address the city council on any non-agenda items within the jurisdiction of the city of Goodyear. We have any cards?
Yes, Mayor. Brian McCarty.
You know the routine by now. You got 3 minutes, just your name and just that whether you're a citizen or not. That's all. You don't need to give your address.
Thanks, Mayor. Brian McCarty, I'm a citizen, a resident of Goodyear. So thank you, Mayor and members of the council for this opportunity to speak with you again. I want to play, you know why I'm here. I'm here to speak about the noise at the Goodyear Airport. We're inundated day and night, and I brought a video to play of an aircraft over our house at 7 in the morning. And I'm going to play that now. So that's what it's like to live in Palm Valley 7 days a week, 18 hours a day. The pilots are not following the rules. They're not following the guidelines that you've worked hard to work with the city of Phoenix. They're just not doing it. They've grown to approximately 90 plus aircraft, and they just have to fly constantly. We've formed a group. We've obviously been in front of you many times. We've attempted to contact the flight schools 15 times and their parent companies with no response. And we've submitted thousands of noise and safety concerns to the city of Phoenix and the FAA. One resident of the Estrella Mountain community made one noise complaint to the city of Phoenix, and his problem was solved. The FAA tower controller told me in no uncertain terms that his neighborhood was off limits. So now we get the noise constantly. I don't want to be negative, but we contacted the Cirrus Design Corporation and have them run the data for what would happen if one of these student pilots lost their engines while they were flying over our neighborhood. And the fact is, and we sent this to you via email, is they won't be able to land at the Goodyear Airport. They're either deploying their parachute equipped and armed, or they are making an off-airport landing, possibly in our neighborhood. This is a great place to live prior to the largest flight school moving in and growing 250% in 1 year, and it's affected us greatly. And as you can hear, that's what we wake up to 7 days a week. Our main goal is to encourage these flight school students to just remain south of I-10, and we need your help and influence to do that. We're the visiting team. You gave the home team 45 minutes to talk with you, and that's what we need. We can't do it in 3 minutes. We need to meet with you, Mayor. We've formed a group. Please meet with the citizens of Palm Valley so we can discuss ways to move forward. We can't sleep. We're having trouble working. People are working from home. They're flying over schools 18 hours a day. It's really, really frustrating. So that's all I have to say. We'll be back. We can't do it in 3 minutes, but please meet with us. Thank you for everything you've done for us.
Yeah, the only thing I can tell you while you're there is we've been working, first of all, it's a Phoenix-owned airport. And you know, as well as I know, that we don't have any control over that airport, right?
We've met with Phoenix. They're ignoring us.
And I know our staff has been working with them to try to resolve some of these issues, so.
Yeah. We appreciate that. We appreciate the meetings that Justin and the city manager had, but the next day it increased 60%. Okay. So it's not working. We need your help.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Anything else? No, Mayor. Okay. City Clerk, please read the consent agenda items 2 through 6 by title only.
Number 2, approval of minutes. Number 3, approve and authorize city manager or her designee to execute the temporary non-exclusive fiber optic license agreement. Number 4, adopt resolution number 2023-2373, approving the Arizona Mutual Aid Compact Agreement for participation in the Arizona Department of Emergency Management Mutual Aid Compact, providing for execution and effective date. Number 5, authorize the budget amendments and expenditures for CIP Project 60077, Rainbow Valley Water Reclamation Facility expansion, and for CIP Project 60110, Rainbow Valley Water Reclamation Facility operational improvements, and for design services at the Rainbow Valley WRF. Number 6, adopt resolution number 2023-2371, adopting the 2023 Goodyear Transportation Master Plan.
Thank you. Does anybody on council wish to remove an item?
I have a question, please.
Okay, which one? You want to remove? You have a question also? Okay, go ahead, Will.
Question on the fiber optic cable. The temporary non-exclusive fiber optic license agreement.
Who do we have to talk on that? Oops, here we go.
Okay, my question is, did I understand staff's report that Microsoft wanted to build the fiber optic and we gave them specific conditions that we would approve it, and they didn't agree to it, but they built it anyway, and now they're coming back and asking for us to approve it? Am I reading it right, or am I not reading it right?
Councilmember Campbell, there's 4 different crossings that are included in that license. 2 that include fiber optic cables that have already been installed, and then 2 that are new ones that are being requested to be installed. There was not a license that was finalized with the first 2, but this is to cover all 4 of them.
Well, why are we doing it then if the other 2 weren't finalized or they weren't approved?
The license area that those are under is actually right-of-way right now, but that right-of-way will be abandoned, and that license has some terms for that right-of-way to be abandoned within the next 12 months. It's to be able to help work with them through their development, but at the same time processing some things with the right-of-way abandonment that lets them continue to move their work. So it's to be able to work with them.
Are there going to be more of this coming forward? Or are there other right-of-way agreements that we haven't agreed to and they want and we haven't agreed to it?
Mayor, Councilmember Campbell, we don't anticipate that. Just these 4 are the ones that we know about right now.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Stipp?
This is a pretty easy question, I think. It's on the Transportation Master Plan. Now that we're approving the plan, what's the plan now? So we've got this whole thing. Are we gonna, how will we start to see this being implemented, et cetera? Should have asked earlier, but I figured it was a softball. You should be able to hit this pretty good.
The plan to do the plan, right? Mayor, Councilmember Stipp, Chris Bridges, Deputy Engineering Director. So now that we have this plan in place, we can start looking through, especially as the bond has passed, which projects are we able to accelerate quicker through the bonding process, but also being able to prioritize what some of those projects are that maybe we thought weren't as high on the list, but through the analysis are there. So now we can start prioritizing through our CIP and our budget and making some adjustments and moving things up and back. So right now, we're going through the CIP, evaluating which of those projects have the ability to move forward, which should move back, or would just be removed entirely or added as new. So we're in that process right now. So as you get into the budget, you're going to start seeing some of those modifications for those projects. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, so we're going to see this primarily only in the budget process under the CIP category.
Some of it, yes. Some of it, if it's under 500,000, might show as a supplemental if it's an easier type project, but essentially, yes, through the budget process.
Okay, I would just ask that as we go through that, can we please call out the Transportation Master Plan projects?
Sure.
So, sometimes we'll do a street project that is not part of that.
Correct.
And I'd just like to know when we're actually executing the project as opposed to just normal daily activity. I think that was the genesis of my questions.
Yeah.
Thank
yes,
you.
We can do that.
You good? All right, with that, can I get it? I don't see anything else up there. Can we get a council, enter a motion, a second, to approve items 2 through 6? I see a motion and a second. You move it to a vote? Passes 7-0. Thank you. There are 4 public hearings on the agenda tonight. Our first public hearing is considering rezoning on approximately 26.4 acres located approximately 1,200 feet west of South Cotton Lane on the north side of MC Route 85. Open the public hearing. Go ahead and please introduce yourself.
Thank you. Good evening. For the record, I'm Dave Williams. I'm a contract planner for you here at the City of Goodyear. The project before you this evening is a rezoning request for the Logistics 85, and I've got a second name here of the El Cedro BET Rail. We have used those names interchangeably down at Cotton Lane and MC 85. The property is located right here in the center with the star, and it starts about a quarter mile west of that intersection. It's across from the South Cotton Goodyear warehouses right now. And it's just kind of northeast of the Lake and Park bungalows. While I have this slide up, I want to point out a few things because we have a lot of infrastructure that's coming into this immediate area. Coming down from the northeast here is the future Loop 303. So that's the 303 alignment. Down here we have the State Route 30 alignment. And then in addition, we know we have the MC 85, but we also have a rail line running right through this area. So this is a heavily encumbered, very unique property, and given the shape, you can see it's got some challenges. The zoning is currently planned area development. It was part of the El Cedro original planned area development. This had a commercial designation on it, though, and that goes back almost 2 decades. The site is 26 acres. It's currently vacant, raw land right now. And what they're proposing is to go ahead and change this from PAD commercial to industrial I-2 with a PAD overlay. On this map, I want to kind of point out that the area not covered by our zoning layers is unincorporated Maricopa County. So the neighbors to the west and to the north, those properties are in Maricopa County. They're not under our control. Neither is MC 85. They are requesting a few deviations as part of their planned area development. They're requesting a reduced front setback down to 30 feet from 50, reduction in the rear setback to 20 feet, and they're requesting an increase in the maximum loading door percentage facing that public street, MC 85, up to 85%. And we'll talk about this in just a little bit as far as how this site is constrained and how it's being designed. They also are requesting a 25-foot buffer, but they're requesting that it should be allowable to have a fire access lane in that 25-foot landscape buffer, and we'll talk about that as well. The site, and I'll just go through these pretty quick, but it is a vacant piece of property, undeveloped. It does have the rail tracks to the north of it, and then to the south are those warehouses that we've already spoken about. This is MC 85. There is a drop-off of about 6 feet from MC 85 from the road surface down to the grade on this property. Now, I want to just point out, because we have the county pocket here as well. This is the green arrow up on my small map up here, but as we do look to the south, this is a residentially zoned parcel, but it's being used as an industrial use, being used as a junkyard, essentially, inside Maricopa County, and it's been that for many years. They are proposing to build about a 300,000 square foot industrial warehouse with rail access on the north side. The site improvements are going to include 2 entrances on MC 85, paved parking lot, loading docks, railroad loading dock as well, a rail siding, landscaping, sidewalks, and then traditional monumentation signing and trash enclosures. Now here's just a simple, the black and white version of the site plan. I prefer my colored version because it tells the story a little bit better. The access onto MC 85, if we start at the south and kind of work our way across the property, They are proposing a full access here at their access point to the east of the property. Their main, or not main access, but the access in front of the building is intended to be a right-in, right-out only onto MC 85. This access point down here to the east does line up with those warehouses to the south with their full access point down there. We have, as I mentioned, the rail line is the blue line right here. So the railroad tracks are going through this area, and they enjoy a 200-foot wide railroad easement. The easement comes right up to where this red arrow is, which is where their proposed fire lane is to service the rear of this property. It's one of the reasons why they're requesting the deletion for landscaping in that area, because there's no place to put landscaping with the proposed rail spur, which is the green line coming down here. There's no place to put landscaping with the rail spur coming in with the loading dock. There's just no opportunity. We have too many uses kind of happening in that area. And then, of course, on the south side of the building will be the vehicle loading docks in this area. We have retention basins both south of the building and proposed in the east section, in that triangular section down to the east. Parking surrounding two sides of the building, and then down to the south towards where that county use is. The architecture we've gone through, and the architecture does meet the standards in our design guidelines for an industrial building. These are the east elevations, west elevation, the north, which is the railroad dock side, is there as well. And then here's kind of the prettier picture of what we're looking at. Public outreach on this, we've done our alternative citizen review process. We did mail out a postcard to everybody within 500 feet of the property. We updated our online development maps. We have reached out through newspaper ads, signs posted on the property, as well as mailings into the community. We have yet to receive a single comment from the public on this. There are criteria which you are very familiar with. I'm not going to go through those unless you would like me to, but there are 10 criteria to look at for a rezoning. But the general sense is it going to be consistent with the community and appropriate to make the change? The Planning Commission met just a couple of weeks ago on this. We gave a presentation on it, and there was some discussion related to the deletion of that landscaping on the north side. An option was provided to see if there was a desire to include that into a stipulation. There was no discussion past that, so there was no motion or addition to the stipulations. There were no public comments at that meeting either. And when everything was done, the discussion, deliberations they had, the commission voted 5-0 unanimously to send this to you for your consideration and approval this evening. With that, staff has found that it does meet the city requirements for this type of project. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, and the applicant is also present tonight.
Applicant would like to speak at this time? Okay. Anybody else in the audience like to speak? All right, with that, I'm going to go ahead and close the public hearing. City Clerk, please read the ordinance number 2023-1598 by title only.
Adopt ordinance number 2023-1598, declaring public records and conditionally rezoning approximately 26.4 acres of land located approximately 1,200 feet west of the intersection of South Cotton Lane and MC 85 from PAD planned area development to the I-2 General Industrial Zoning District with the PAD planned area development overlay, amending the zoning map of the City of Goodyear, providing for non-abridgment, providing for corrections, providing for severability, providing for an effective date, providing for penalties, and directing the city clerk to record a copy of this ordinance.
Thank you. Can I get a motion and a second? Ordinance 2023-1598. I see a motion and a second up on the board. Open for discussion. We've got Councilmember Hampton's up first.
Yeah, no, thank you for bringing this. I remember when this came to us in 2018, and so I was clarifying. So the difference between that one and this one is we're going from commercial to industrial, so we can do more. Because I remember that one also had you could connect to the rail spur at that time as well. So
I believe the previous one did have that. The overall design intent under the previous PAD was commercial, though, which limited the intensity that they're proposing right now.
okay, yeah, I mean with the amount of industrial already there, I'm supportive of this. So I think it'll it'll fit in this area here. Yeah, especially for what's already over in that general area, and to be able to connect to that rail spur has to be a good selling point as well. So, yeah, no, I'm good with it. So thank you.
Councilmember Loretano.
Thank you very much. Don't get too close, I guess. I think it's a good fit for that area. I do have two questions. It might help to put a site plan, your colored site plan back
Be
up,
happy to.
because it's a really odd parcel that's there, and it's not going to develop as commercial. I think as Councilmember Stipp always says, if not this, then what? And I don't think you're gonna put commercial here. With regard to MC 85, since we don't own that road, or it's not in Goodyear, we don't have any authority over that road, will there be a decel lane, or how's that turn gonna be in? Because there's a lot of pretty fast-moving traffic that goes right in that area on MC 85.
That will still have to be determined by Maricopa County. One of our stipulations is that the traffic impact analysis, the TIA, still has to be approved by the county. So they're still working through those final details, and whatever the county requires, they will have to perform to as part of our approvals. We did stipulate that.
Okay, yeah, because that, and if we can suggest that to the county, that might be very helpful, because that area takes on a lot of traffic, especially people who want to avoid I-10 to get to Buckeye. I mean, it's during rush hour, there's a lot of people there. The other question is where the doors are and the lighting. Is that going to be shaded or put down so it doesn't have a lot of light bleed? Because from Estrella Mountain Ranch, you can actually see some of these warehouses, and these lights are pretty bright and do show into the houses. Like, for example, for my house, I can see the, which is not in a Goodyear, I can see the Walmart bright lights from Walmart. Whereas Goodyear's always seems to have done better with shading the light, and it doesn't get the bright. So is that something that we can make sure that those lights are done
Yes.
so that they don't
The lights
bleed
will,
out?
absolutely. The lights will have to comply with the lighting requirements. The good benefit here as well is this site is about 6 feet lower than the road bed, so the lights themselves are actually lower than the cars in the area, even though there may be a little more visibility over the screen walls, and we would traditionally see the lights themselves are actually going to be a bit lower. And I would anticipate to the south that the Lake and the Southcott and Goodyear warehouses are actually probably going to block any of that light because they do sit higher.
Okay.
We do have an elevation change between that site, the road, and the site to the south. I would anticipate it actually is going to have a screening effect to the residential areas to the south there.
Yeah, and although they're pretty far away, it's because they're up on a hill, it looks down, and I just want to prevent in 2 years when this is built, a whole bunch of people coming saying that our lights are bleeding into their neighborhood when they have their drapes open. So much appreciated. Thank you very much, and I think this is a really good fit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Mayor?
Well, Dave, I want to thank you and Katie for meeting with me this afternoon to go over this project. Although we didn't get any resident feedback, I know that there's a lot of care and concern from our residents about the any additional industrial that comes up. And I think me and certainly other council members want to give careful consideration to anything that's zoned commercial that we are now changing to industrial. This is a very odd shape piece of land. The rail spur makes it very unique, and it is interesting the convergence of county and Goodyear all together. And it, as we talked about today, State Route 85 is not landscaped. I mean, it's not beautiful out there, and I think that this is an attractive building, and I'm sure it'll be appropriately landscaped for the parcel it is. And you know, after careful consideration, I'm going to support this.
Councilmember Gillis?
The landscaping in the back where the railway is going to go, I am a little concerned about that. Is that just going to just be blah back there, or is there something we can put back there, even if it's one or two trees, you know?
Not at all. There will be a gravel path back there. The issue that we run into is getting a path back there that is serviceable for the fire trucks to get back through there.
Of course.
They need to maintain their 20-foot wide area to service that back area. But then with the rail line coming in as well, You kind
There's
of
just no
create
way
a no man's land, unfortunately. And then with the 303 behind that, we have an area where the landscaping, from the staff point of view, isn't serving any benefit. We're not shielding from anybody. We're not providing for that. Having a gravel base back there actually is probably a better, safer option in the long run, especially with the rail cars. They do spark. They do create issues.
Right.
It's why you've got so much gravel.
Right.
So it does provide a little additional layer of safety
Okay.
back there. But that was something staff took very careful consideration of in our review of this particular project.
Okay. Then we don't see it being an eyesore.
No, we don't.
Okay.
Because back there, it's looking out on another industrial use to the northeast with their rail spur, and in the future 303. There's a lot of heavy uses, very intense uses going into that immediate area.
Okay. That's what I wanted to know. Thank you.
I don't see any further discussion. Can you open up the voting? Passes 7-0. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Next, we will receive one presentation for the following three public hearing items. Sadea Commercial Retail Building with drive-through use permit, Sadea Commercial Convenience Store with drive-through use permit, and a Sadea Commercial Car Wash unit use permit. We will open and close each hearing for the public comment for each item will be voted upon separately, though. The first hearing is for the retail building with a drive-through use permit. Open the public hearing. Go ahead and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening, Mayor Pizzolo and Council. Christian Williams, Interim Planning Manager. Here before you this evening with a request from Max Gazul and his associates from Architecton. And again, we'll be hearing these three use permits together, but again, they'll be voted on as separate items. So the property is located at the northeast corner of Indian School and Perryville Road. The larger site is 13.48 acres, and it's currently zoned PAD with an underlying zoning of general commercial. So that property is right here, and I'll zoom in a little bit here closer. So to the north of the site, so the site of the three use permits is in this yellow box here. It is within that entirety of one of the commercial Sadea corners. So north of the sites we're talking about today, there's vacant commercial land within this Sadea commercial community. To the west of it is Perryville Road and the enclave at Fulton Homes Development in the county. South of that is Arizona State Trust land, which is being farmed today, and it is south, north, and east of county areas, Litchfield Farms. As well as east of this site, you have additional commercial and a drainage channel within Sadea. So for a little history on the property, the commercial site was part of the Sadea Final Planned Area Development back in 2005 when it was originally entitled, and that PAD included both the commercial and a variety of residential single-family uses. The whole of Sadea is 638 acres, and it contains two commercially zoned properties that equate to 31.75 acres. Again, the site we're talking about today is 13.48 acres, and the three use permits on that site equate to about 33% of those 13 acres. Again, that site is right here. So again, today, three use permits, one for the convenience store with a drive-through on 1.37 acres, a car wash on 1.38 acres, and a retail restaurant building that includes a drive-through on 1.78 acres. Again, here's the site overall. And then in red is a site plan that is in, that it will be administratively administered, and what needs to be approved in order to proceed with that site plan is the area in this yellow box. So let's go through the three use permits. The first use permit, again, is that convenience store with a gas station and drive-through on the rear on 1.37 acres. The building itself for the convenience store is 5,000 square feet and contains that drive-through with queuing for a minimum of 8 cars that wraps around the rear of the building. It also includes 19 parking spaces, 2 bike racks, and 16 spaces for fueling under that canopy. The gas station is not located on the hard arterial corner, and between the gas station and that corner, there are other uses as well as a shade structure and entry feature for Sadea. The Sadea residential is more than 570 feet to the north of this site, and the convenience store is located more than 330 feet away from residential properties to the east, as well as more than 412 feet away from an HOA playground within Sadea. The proposed height is at 25 feet at that tower element on the convenience store, and that is under the 56-foot height maximum that's allowed within C2. A few stipulations attached to this use permit for the convenience store is that no alcohol, liquor, tobacco, or marijuana shall be distributed through the drive-through window. That would also include a vaping product that contain marijuana or tobacco. No standalone diesel pump canopies shall be permitted on the convenience store site. Semi-truck parking and facilities for overnight semi-truck parking is not allowed on the site. And the use permit will also provide that an employee break area must be constructed at the convenience store site so that when their employees go on break, they're encouraged to take their breaks on the site and not wander 500 feet off to private properties. That's a stipulation that was brought up as a result of one of the neighborhood meetings. The second use permit is for a car wash on 1.38 acres. The site will have an automated car wash with 24 self-vacuuming stations and parking spaces. The site also has bike racks on site. The building for the car wash is about 3,700 square feet, and the building is oriented with the tunnel facing north and south, with vehicles exiting to the south, and that is to avoid creating detrimental noise for the Sadea community. In front of the car wash tunnel, you'll also see that there is a building, if the use permits are approved, that is planned to also block the noise and things of that nature. This is more than 435 feet away from the residential homes to the north, as well as the Fulton development to the east. And again, the tunnel is blocked, or anticipated to be blocked by some buildings to the south. There is a stipulation of note on this site plan that there's our typical noise stipulations about noise trespass off of this property. And then the hours of operations would be restricted from 7 a.m. or would be allowed to operate between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. Other hours would not be allowed to operate. And again, there's renderings on the right side of what that building would look like. And the third use on the site is a retail and restaurant building with a drive-through on the rear on 1.78 acres. The retail building would have queuing in the rear for approximately 10 cars. The pickup window does not face the arterial roadway, and there are 45 parking spaces and 2 bike racks on that site. The proposed retail building is 8,000 square feet. The building entrance is oriented to the south and would connect through to the hard corner of Indian School and Perryville with that decorative shade structure with seating at that hard corner. The same stipulations about marijuana or tobacco or alcohol not being able to pass through that window is also a provision of this drive-through. And the building is also restricted to no more than 50% of the building being occupied by a drive-through tenant so that there's diversity of options for the residents within Sadea. And that came as a result also of some of the discussions at the neighborhood meeting about wanting high-quality retail in the area. So at the first neighborhood meeting for the convenience store and the drive-through, with drive-through and the car wash, residents voiced concerns about traffic within and around Sadea, having a gas station that could potentially distribute alcohol through the window in the property, and concerns about the proximity of commercial to their HOA amenities, and as well as potential for convenience store employees to take smoke breaks, if you will, off of the property, thus some of the stipulations you see today. At the second neighborhood meeting, which then included the retail restaurant with drive-through building as well, comments were received including support for commercial uses, as residents did not want to see this site potentially come back for an industrial rezone, as well as a desire for high-quality retail development. And then upon the conclusion, and at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, residents in attendance had concerns about noise, trespass, traffic, and safety. So upon the conclusion of the P&Z meeting, we had residents from Litchfield Farms within Maricopa County address those concerns. Staff has evaluated the impacts of this proposed zoning on the greater community based on the use permit criteria. Staff does not believe the use permit will be materially detrimental to persons residing or working within the vicinity, and the proposed use is reasonably compatible with the surrounding area and the adjacent parcel size and configuration. That concludes staff presentation. Staff is recommending approval as well as the Planning and Zoning Commission for these 3 use permits. And I'm happy to answer any use permit related questions you might have.
Is the applicant here? Yeah. Would you like to speak at this time? Not unless necessary. Okay, hold on. Any speaker cards?
Yes, Mayor. Leslie Levon.
Come on up.
Good evening, and thank you for having me. The opportunity to speak. I was the one that spoke at the Planning Council meeting. I do live in Litchfield Farms. I am not a resident of the city of Goodyear. I have several things. One, I am not opposed to all building on the commercial site. I do understand that it is commercial and houses cannot be built on it. However, I am opposed to the gas station. I believe that there is a large pollution as well as a large chance of explosion. Although that property is not covered by the Luke Air Force overlay, 100 feet from that is. So I don't know that a plane is going to be able to say, hey, I can't crash there, I need to crash over here. There's a lot of gas and fuel that is underground. I'm largely fearful of having a huge explosion and taking out thousands and thousands of homes, and catastrophic at that point. I am opposed to the car wash. I think that a car wash is not necessary. We spoke to the owner of the property at the end of the Planning Council meeting, and he said that his information found that a car wash is needed, and there's now a car wash within a mile of this property. And it's already built and up and running, and I think that there's a better use for businesses in that area. Suggested replacements could be anything that improves the quality of life for the people that are in that area. I don't believe that a gas station that is going to have access to alcohol. There are 2 elementary schools that are within a quarter mile of this property. I am a retired school teacher, and it frightens me to death to think that people are going to be sitting pounding a 12-pack of beer and then driving down the street and taken out of school. That is very concerning to me. I think, again, there's, Fry's is a mile away. So I think that there's a better use of the building in this property. Thank you for your time.
Anything else?
Mayor.
That's it? Go ahead and close the public hearing. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the use permit for the retail restaurant building within the drive-through approximately 1.78 acres identified as Pad B in the preliminary site plan and subject to stipulations? I see a motion and a second on the board. Open for discussion. All right, first up is Councilmember Gillis.
Christian, what, can you put the site plan back up again?
Yes.
And did you, I don't see it up here. Okay, there we go. Did you address this lady's issue when she talked about the explosive thing with the gas underneath and all that? You're telling us absolutely no diesel pumps, right?
You can have a diesel pump, it just can't be a standalone diesel pump.
It's not a standalone. So we have okayed, or we're trying to get it so that there will be diesel pumps there? Is that what you're telling me?
No, what we're trying to prevent here is standalone diesel pumps that could facilitate a desire for semi-trucks or those types of uses to want to use this gas station.
Okay, so what's the difference though in a standalone if there was 2 or 3?
Typically in like a truck stop type of gas station facility, you might see a standalone diesel canopy that is built to accommodate semi-trucks utilizing a site. So this site would restrict that.
So we are going to allow diesel pumps there then?
If the applicant wanted to have some diesel pumps, yes, they could.
Okay, I'd like to speak with the applicant.
Go ahead.
That's my question. Do you plan on having diesel pumps there?
Well, I'm the architect, so I'm not the owner of the facility. My understanding is that the owner wants to have a gas station, which will have both gas and diesel. So that's my understanding.
We'll have the diesel pumps?
Yes.
Okay. Christian, I need to talk to you again. Thank you. So have you addressed this lady's issues before? Have you talked to her about the explosive, her question that she has about that?
I have not until this evening heard that concern from the residential.
That was never brought up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Okay, that's my questions for right now. Thank you.
Councilmember Hampton.
Christian.
Yes.
So, I don't know if you have the map up there. How far is it? I didn't see distances. Usually they have like how far is it from the line of the properties to the nearest resident?
Based on the uses, they're approximately 400 feet to residential. That's a low number there, about 380 to 400 feet, depending on the particular use.
Okay. And then when you described the gas station, you said that it also had, I was trying to imagine in my head an example, equivalent example. So the gas station will have a drive-through on that particular parcel of it on its own, attached to the building of the gas station, convenient use.
Yes.
Correct. And is that a certain percentage, or is that a 100% convenience use, gas station use, or is it a 50% like the other retail use?
The intent that the applicant expressed to me on having that drive-through would be, for example, there's a gas station on Roosevelt and Estrella that has a kitchen option in it. So if somebody wanted to order online a kitchen item, or let's say a heated up pizza or a breakfast bagel, and they wanted to drive through and get a coffee and a bagel, they could order it in advance on their app and then use the drive-through to get that without getting out of their car in the morning. That's more the intent of what their drive-through facility would be.
And it's from the gas station,
Correct.
not a separate user like when I'm driving up north and there's a Burger King inside the gas station or something. Like
Correct.
That. Okay. And then, okay. And then that was that question. And then the car wash, how far is the distance from, you said the tunnel is turned so that not the vacuums, but the drying mechanism is facing south.
Correct.
Towards the retail restaurant area. And is there any noise studies done how far it's supposed to go out? Like I've seen some of the other studies that we've
Correct. There's a stipulation that states that the noise cannot trespass off of the property at 74 decibels.
off the property.
Correct.
Off of the parcel we're talking about, or the
Yes.
entire
the car wash property.
The car wash property.
Correct.
Okay. And
I'll point out as well that there's an intentional decision that the patio for that retail building would be furthest, for the retail building south of it, to be furthest away from that tunnel.
Yeah, I'd be worried about that too, because I know we have another issue in our city where, I mean, we have the tunnel facing the hotel, for example. So I just want to make sure that if I am sitting out on that patio, it'd be enjoyable to actually sit on that patio.
Correct. And these are new stipulations that have been crafted to address those very similar issues that we've seen elsewhere.
Okay, and then the vacuums, part of that, is that also part of any noise coming off of
Any
the
noise.
entire facility is the 74 decibels?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. And I do like that the drive-through, the retail restaurant section can also be utilized for more uses besides just the drive-through. That has to be, right? 50% is.
That's correct. That was the applicant's attempt to make sure that they're providing some diversity of options within the center.
Yeah, I think that's what residents would like. I see that you're putting biking places, right, racks throughout. So you're assuming that people are going to bike there. So I'd like to have a use that people could actually bike to. And will there be, I'm not sure how to put this, but safety in mind for the bike riders that are going to that area. Is it their pathways built in here, or is it just them crossing all roads?
There's requirements in the site plan for paver crossings, and you'll see that the site has a pretty robust pedestrian circulation area. And where pedestrians or bicyclists are to cross the route, not only do they need to be ramped and curved, but there'll be a distinguished paver marking so that vehicular traffic can more readily know that there's a pedestrian crossing there.
Okay. Okay, I think that's all my questions so far. And you said there was just the one during the process. There's no comment cards other than the one resident.
At the neighborhood meeting, the first neighborhood meeting, there were several dozen residents in attendance who voiced their concerns. At the second neighborhood meeting, there were less than 10, I believe, that were in attendance. And at the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting, there were 2 residents from the Litchfield Farms community in attendance.
Yeah, because I don't think I've only gotten like maybe one email. So, okay. But there was also some support, you said, as well.
At the second neighborhood meeting, there was some support for to see this site develop commercially.
As is. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Okay. I think that's it. That's another question I had. Pad E, that's not in the yellow section. Is that part of this as well?
It is not a part of the use permit applications. That is allowed by right because they have no use permit activities proposed on that site. So you're just seeing the use permit portions. If this is approved, then staff can administratively finish out the site plan process, which would approve more than the buildings that you're seeing here today.
So Pad E is not one of those three uses. That could be something, another building, another commercial use, just like Pad C.
Correct. Their current intent in their site plan is to develop a 7,000 square foot retail building.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate the stipulations, the screening, the landscaping, the queuing, and the versatility of this project here. So yeah, I think I'm on board with it. So yeah, I think that's all my questions. So thank you.
Councilmember Loretano?
Thank you very much. I think we've been hearing that this area wants to get more commercial and more type of businesses, and I'm glad to hear that's the development also of Pad E over there that isn't part of this because there's no drive-through. So we'll have retail there. The office, not the retail with the drive-through, it strikes me like it'd be like what's on Estrella or the Dunkin' Donuts type of thing. Is that probably, if I'm visualizing correctly,
you got it,
a drive-through thing? So I'm very good with that. The gas station, I want to make sure that I'm on the same page. When you're saying no single pumps, like you go to California, there's a pump without a shelter on it so the big semis can get in. This is going to be so if I have a diesel car or a boat or an RV, I can pull into a regular gas lane and just pick the diesel option. Is that
correct?
right?
If I have a diesel pickup truck,
Yeah.
which is very common, I could go to this gas station and have an option for myself.
Okay, but we're making the step so it's not something that's going to attract or be useful actually for the semis to even get under there.
Correct.
Gotcha. And then the other thing, the last one is about the one that gave me a little bit of concern was the car wash, obviously. But looks like Patty is also going to be retail or commercial behind it, correct?
Correct.
So I think that'll be a buffer. And is there going to be any landscaping buffer between the car wash and Pad F? Or is that not until Pad F comes in?
Pad F is future. It's not developed right now. What you see on the site plan to date is stubs for future Pad F opportunities. So when that does develop, we would come back and look at what the site planning efforts for that area look like and then tie in the pedestrian connections and landscaping.
And then my final question is, if the car wash can't operate past 8 p.m., can the, the vacuums, can they not work after 8 p.m. as well? Will they also be shut off?
That's correct. That business needs to cease operations by 8 p.m.
Okay, that's what I just don't want people coming there because those are kind of loud. So
Yep.
I am in support of it, so thank you.
Councilmember Campbell?
Thank you for answering all my questions earlier today.
You're welcome.
Thank you for answering my questions today. You answered all of them, but now you've given me some more information
You're very welcome.
that I need to ask. So what is an example of a business for the 8,000 square foot that's being proposed? Like, is it a Wendy's? Is it a Taco Bell?
So for example,
Like that?
I'll give you an example. If a Wendy's decided they wanted to go in there and operate a drive-through, Wendy's is about somewhere between 3,000, 4,000 square feet. So in theory, you could have a Wendy's operate in no more than 50% or 4,000 square feet, which then gives you opportunity for 4 1,000 square foot buildings or a couple 1,500 square foot uses. So you could fit a yogurt shop in there, you could fit a dry cleaners in there, a nail salon, for example.
So you could put like Kentucky Fried Chicken and a Taco Bell with the dual.
If the dual is within one business that is less than 4,000,
Good.
or if the Taco Bell said we don't want to drive through, they're just a restaurant at that point.
Okay. My next question is for Pad F. Is the same owner own Pad F?
Currently,
They own the whole thing?
currently the entire 13.4 acres is owned by one single entity.
Okay, and they only want to develop this portion now.
That is correct.
Do they know which they're going, is it all ready to develop all of it? Or is it just gonna be in segments down the road? Like they're gonna do the car wash this year and in 10 years, the next thing, and then 5 years, the next thing?
The phasing has not been determined yet. The first step in the process is getting the use permits processed. Then the site plan would be approved. Once the site plan's approved, they have a year to lock the site plan in by initiating some vertical construction.
Or they have to come and ask for an extension and start?
Correct.
Okay, and then my very last question is, I drove out there, but this has no retention basin at all. The opposite end has the retention basin, am I correct? They have two commercial areas in Sadea on each side.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, okay. So what the other Sadea site, that basin is actually holding regional flows from all of Sadea.
Right.
This site has some drainage conveyance channels that wrap around the back of the site.
But it's very developable.
Yes, and when they come to develop this, we'll need to take a look at their drainage plans and their drainage and grading plans.
Okay.
And they will need to retain the on-site flows from their site while also not impacting the flows that are traversing their site if there's no
Okay, I
plan
just want to
flows.
be sure that we don't have a backup of water somewhere that's going to end up going into Sadea, because we don't want that to occur. And we want them to be able to hold all that water together when they need to do it. They need their own little basin or whatever.
Yes, the land they disrupt from this development on that portion of the site will need to be stored on the site, but there are some intricacies in Sadea where there's regional flows because it's a master plan, so there are flows that will traverse this site.
And it flows down to that corner in different areas from where the houses are, so we just don't want to do anything to impact that. And I'm sure that's why the architect is doing what he's doing, so thank you very much.
Well, I also want to thank you, Christian, for communicating with me about the drive-through convenience store window, which seemed unique. But through the conversation today with the other council members, I have a better picture of what you would use it for, and it definitely seems more food-oriented rather than get me a big gulp and a bag of Cheetos and put it through the window. So, okay, makes a lot more sense. I wanted to say this is probably the best site planning for a car wash that I've ever seen come forward, and I'm really, you know how I feel about car washes, so I'm really, really very pleased with that. I think you're doing the best thing you can to minimize the impact on any of the residents. And as Councilmember Loretano said, the Sadea residents really have been wanting to have some commercial development in their area, and this is something that is going to be a pretty unique thing. And to Ms. Levant's point, I used to live out where the Canyon View High School is, and I never, that was in the early 2000s, I never would imagine that Perryville and Jackrabbit would ever develop. It was all country. And it's very difficult to see the transformation, but growth has come, and Sadea is a very beautiful master plan community, and the residents have been very clear that they want some amenities for them, for their area, and I think that we're doing a good job to provide something that will meet the need, not only for them, but for the other neighbors as well. So thank you very much.
Christian, I think the only, everybody thanked you for meeting with you today, and I didn't meet with you today, so I felt like I was left, like I should have met with you or something. But my only kind of general concern about aggressively developing multiple pads here at the corner is, what are we doing to pad F? Are we creating a condition that is making pad F undevelopable from a planning perspective, that we're going to force something non-commercial into that spot? So can you kind of talk planning philosophy through that?
Sure. I will go to this larger image to kind of highlight that. One of the items we worked with the developer on was ensuring that there was a spine that gets you to pad F. So the intent here and the intent with this sidewalk is that additional commercial opportunity can develop here and have through access. Similarly, coming in from Perryville, there's a straight shot here and views into this area so that there is opportunity for some more commercial developable land.
And both of those entrances off of Perryville and Indian School are right in, right out. They're dual turn, capable.
The entrance from Indian School westbound is planned to be right in, right out, and left in. And the entrance here on the north, I believe, is left in, left out, right in. And there'll be deceleration lanes placed on the northbound to turn in and deceleration lanes on the westbound to turn in.
Obviously, the concern is that we're not choking off access to that. And I didn't think you guys would intentionally do that. But I think it's important for us to remember if we're aggressive on the corner, what are we doing to the rest of it from an access perspective? You know, this is kind of being set up perfectly for a storage place behind it. And that's not what we're trying to incentivize, I think, in this grand scheme of bringing some commercial up there. I was kind of taken aback, like everybody else, on these multiple drive-throughs through some of these, retail area or the C-store. And then it dawned on me, there's it's a fried chicken franchise over by one of my favorite restaurants in another city that has a drive-through in a strip area. So I think that seems to be the way that retail is going. And I echo Vice Mayor's point about the car wash, getting that in the right configuration, in the right way, kind of shielded behind the other retail store. It makes a lot of good sense. I just hope that we're a little farther beyond the conceptual phase with all of this. This is an awful lot of special use permits for concepts. So hopefully that there's some real users behind all of this as we go forward. But that's nothing, obviously, that we can address tonight. So I know you worked hard to get this to be the best site that we can, and try to bring something to an area that is really going to kind of be desperate given the Luke flyover areas to the east. This is going to be your closest quick stop for, a gallon of milk, or what did you say? Bag of Cheetos and a big gulp. But it'll be the closest thing that we have to that. I don't really think we're going to be drawing a lot of folks from the east to here. I think this is really going to be very locally used kind of area for both the county and the unincorporated Glendale area and an unincorporated county. So thanks for all your effort.
Seven zero. Now we'll go through the 7 different votes here. So the next public hearing for Sedaya Commercial Convenience Store with a drive-through use permit. We open the public hearing. You've already done your presentation. Go ahead and close it.
No additional public speakers.
All right, can I get a motion to second on this piece? Get a motion to second up. Any more further discussion? With that, go ahead and open the voting. Passes 7-0. Last public hearing on the Sedaya Commercial Car Wash Unit. Open the public hearing. No more speakers? All right, close the public hearing. Gonna get a motion in a second. Got a motion and a second up on the board. Any more further discussion? Seeing none, go ahead and open the voting. Passes 7-0. Thank you, Christian. With that, I'd like to remind council to wait for a motion and a second before discussion. Our one business item is retirees' healthcare plan. Please go ahead and introduce yourself.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Lyman Lockett, Human Resources Director. Over the past 2 months, work sessions have been held that provided direction on the framework for a retiree healthcare plan that supports the attraction and retention of a talented workforce. Tonight, I'm here to request approval of the framework for the retiree healthcare plan and a transition plan that leads to full implementation. Quick overview, high-level overview of the framework of the plan. This covers the groups that are covered under the plan, PSPRS employees, ASRS, and council members. We also have outlined the years of service and retirement status requirements, access to the Goodyear Wellness Center, premium equivalency rate of 50% retirees and 50% city, and access to the medical plan offered to our active employees. In addition to the framework, we have a transition plan. During the transition plan, employees who meet the eligibility criteria will be eligible for retiree health care so long as they elect COBRA and maintain the coverage through July 1st, 2024, which will be the start of the plan. Employees who qualify will receive the premium equivalency rates of 50% retiree and 50% city during that transition period. In addition, during the transition period, we'll be working on the plan, the policies, plan documentation, open enrollment materials. All will be finalized, and the policies will be brought back to council for approval during that period of time. Also, costs for the plan will be captured as part of the fiscal 2025 budget. A full plan to fund the ongoing and one-time costs will be developed along with funding of other strategic plan initiatives. And then lastly, a high-level look at implementation. Implementation will start January 1st, and will include starting with the renegotiation of our Cigna contract, including retiree health care plans. We'll also establish contracts with new vendors for billing and administration of the plan. And finally, we'll move into the final phase, which is the open enrollment phase to launch the plan. That ends my presentation. We also have our Deputy Finance Director here for any questions related to budgetary issues.
City Clerk, please read Resolution 2023-2377 by title only.
Adopt resolution number 2023-2377, accepting the framework and transition plan for the implementation of a retiree health care plan with the transition commencing on December 19th, 2023, with a plan effective date of July 1st, 2024.
Thank you. Do we get a motion and a second to adopt Resolution 2023-2377? I see a motion and a second up on the screen. Open for council discussion. Councilmember Hampton's first one up.
Yeah, thank you for putting it all together here. I just had a couple questions. I'll probably ask another question after everybody else talks here too, though. But just clarifying on the budget, I see in the fiscal impact here the part of the proposal, but is this the version where we're going to spread it out over time, or we're doing it all at once? Not all, I mean the 1.3 version, 1.6 version.
Get the finance.
A year.
Have
So
him come up and.
Zillow, Councilmember Hampton. My name is Jared Askelson. I'm the Deputy Finance Director. The numbers that you saw in the fiscal impact statement on the car were just outlining the total cost, what they're going to be. So a minimum of $120,000 annually for the benefit costs, a maximum of approximately $1.7 million for the earned benefits each year, and then a $25.8 million previous fiscal year earned amount. Those numbers just outline what the totals are. We're still developing that plan, and we'll bring that back as part of the budget.
Yeah, I'm just curious on the philosophy, where we settled with the direction that you heard from us before on the philosophy of we're going to go minimum to try to maintain everything we still want to do and not bite off more than we can chew in the beginning, that we're going to spread it across a little more easier in the beginning. So I'm just curious what you guys heard and which philosophy you're going to be shooting for when you come back to us.
So the direction that we received was that we should definitely fund on an ongoing basis the minimum amount that you saw, the $120,000, and that use a combination of ongoing and/or one time to fund the other portions. And we'll be putting that together as part of the budget. So at this point, we've locked in the ongoing amount at $120,000 and are working through different scenarios between that $120,000 up to that $1.7 million number.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll work that out as a part of what we're doing with the budget. But we have a few scenarios we're working through right now.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that come next budget cycle, we do the 120. I didn't want to. What I'm worried about is that we won't be able to hire as many people, or we won't be able to do the things that we've already committed that we want to do. But it sounds like you have that direction, that you know that we need to. You can have you figure it out. That's fine. But knowing that we're going to be tight potentially next year, and that we're going to try to minimize the impact of this going forward on our budget. So that's just clarifying what that looked like. So, and then did we include, and it's just a follow up from the work session as well, this one thing is for Lyman, the how do you say that? For the, did you keep it to where the individual, the person that's covered, if their spouse is, however old their spouse is, that person is in the plan until they hit 65, or is it just with the individual that's covered?
So part of what we'll be bringing back are eligibility rules, clean eligibility rules, as well as dependent and spouse rules, and transition to Medicare. So what happens when you transition to Medicare? So there are various scenarios that we'll bring back. Council will have an opportunity to approve what we move forward with.
And was there a big dollar impact?
There is no dollar impact. So what you're looking at is a high mark. The assumption is that people would stay on the plan.
Yeah, if we include the.
Yeah, if a retiree drops off and moves to Medicare, any covered or eligible dependents would stay on until they're no longer eligible. Yeah. So that's what's been presented. We'll have the opportunity to make adjustments to that before we finalize the plan, and that will be done in policy.
Okay, and if I remember right, you said that we keep them on or don't keep them on. It's not really a big cost.
Yeah, the cost assumption is that they would stay on. And okay. that would be similar to other plans that are out there in some other cities with survivor benefits. So again, we'll have options to build our plan as we want it, but those options do exist out there.
Okay, but there's not a cost difference, is what you're saying. I know it's priced in now, but if we included them, you said there's not a price difference. Versus
correct.
Not.
If we include it, there wouldn't be a price difference.
Okay. And I think that was what I have right now. So, okay. No, I appreciate all the hard work getting it to here. So, curious what other council members are going to say. I might have another follow-up question, but thank you.
Lyman, at the work session that we had on this most recently, the issue did come up about benefits for dependents after the retiree retires and separates from the city. And and it sounded like that was a part of the plan that you were developing. So I did follow up with the city manager to ask if that was consistent with ASRS. And would you address that?
Sure. So ASRS has a couple of components. ASRS has lifetime coverage. They have one of the components that we decided not to move forward with, and that's the Medicare supplemental. So when you're on the ASRS plan, you might move. You'll become Medicare eligible. You'll move to the Medicare plan, but you may still have dependents who are covered under their non-Medicare plans. What ASRS does is they have a combined rate that will allow all individuals to remain covered under the plan. That way nobody's left without coverage and they can transition to Medicare at the appropriate time. So part of what we'll be bringing back to council will be what does transition to Medicare looks like. We're not going to have a Medicare supplemental plan, so people will be moving off of our plan. What happens to those dependents on a go-forward basis, both when somebody just transitions to Medicare or under a survivor scenario.
Okay. Yeah, I think that was important to bring up. Now, also at the last work session, you said that there were 6 months of details to be worked out. I mean, there's a lot of details, obviously, and you are going to be working on how and when, but you have a pretty ambitious schedule. I think you are hoping to have it by April. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
Policies back by April per the plan, and then we'd also like to have contracts in. So there's a number of things that we normally do. We would normally be negotiating our Cigna contracts during this period of time. Now we're adding the retiree health component to it. That will maintain on the normal schedule that we would have. So we would have that tied up. But we will have some new vendor contracts for billing and administrative services. Again, our goal would be to have all those components that are necessary for the plan to operate by July 1. But policies so that we can have those things outlined would come back no later than April to council.
Then at what points are our council going to have an opportunity to weigh in on policy, or have we already done that and now?
No. You will have opportunity to come back and weigh in on policies. There are some things that, as we get into detail, as we've talked about, when we talk about survivor benefits, when we talk about eligibility requirements, there are a lot of nuances there.
Yes.
There are a lot of things that we'll look at for transition to Medicare that, if we're comparing ourselves to ASRS, where they have that supplemental, they have a different transition that would occur than what we would have. So council will have the opportunity to weigh in on what our transition to Medicare looks like.
Okay, thank you very much. And you're going to have a very busy first part of the year then between now and April getting things done. And I just want to say don't get us backed up in a corner where we don't have any time to weigh in before it has to be implemented. So I wish you the best on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
This far. It's taken us a long time to put it all together. I know that this is just to initially say we are going to offer insurance for our employees after they separate so that they're fully covered and their dependents. Now this is not who we're going to be insured with or what they're going to cover or any of that. That's a later discussion. Am I correct?
There are some components in terms of who we're going to be with. The plan, as outlined in the framework, is to allow retirees to stay on the same coverage that are active. So they'll be covered with Cigna. It'll be the same plan that our actives have. So some of those components are already worked out. There will be other decisions, though, that we will be bringing back to council.
Okay, I just don't want anyone that we offer it to with a pre-existing condition be denied.
That is
really critical and very important because you have children and you have spouses, even yourself. So we have to be real careful that is not anywhere in this at all.
Yeah, today's action, council provides us with the direction to continue moving forward and to implement the framework that we have. The details within the framework we'll work through, but the framework itself we're moving forward with the anticipation of having that effective July 1st,
so
2024.
The employee could elect to go into the program or the system on July 1st or not.
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you for it. I'm so happy to see this. This is just wonderful. It's something we should have done years ago.
I want to thank you for all your hard work in getting this through, and for the public that doesn't know, we had several work sessions and lots of information going back and forth to try to pick the right plan and pick the right way to make ourselves competitive. I think this does make us competitive, and it does allow us to get high talent to Goodyear and to stay in Goodyear, and I think that's what we want. I agree with Councilmember Campbell. It's very important that we make sure pre-existing conditions are covered and that we make sure that there are no exclusions in the plan or anything that separates out from any type of exclusion that our current employees would have, because we do not want to create donut holes for people. So good work, and thank you very much. I totally support this. I think it is money well spent, because what people don't realize is when people leave Goodyear, we have to fill that spot. And if we have to train somebody new, if we lose somebody with 8 years experience to go somewhere else, we're losing, a lot of wealth of knowledge. So we want to make sure that we do keep the best and the brightest here. With regard to the COBRA, how's that like? I don't want to create a donut hole there either. How's that going to work between January and July 1st? What's that plan?
So the way it will work is if someone meets the eligibility requirement to retire and they commence their retirement, they'll be able to go on the city's COBRA benefit. They'll get the 50-50 rate. They'll have to maintain that COBRA until July 1st, and then they would move on to the retiree health care plan.
Okay, so it is still at the 50-50 rate. It's
Still
not
at the 50-50 rate, yeah. So they stay whole as long as they meet all the eligibility requirements.
And the same thing as just general employees, the retiree will be able to every year determine if they want to change from the HMO, the PPO, they'll be able to switch just like everybody else.
Yes. Along with qualifying events, they would be able to change at that point in time, but otherwise they'd be able to change during open enrollment time. So they'll have a similar open enrollment period as active employees.
Well, thank you very much. I support this.
I don't know that I necessarily have a question, Lyman, more than just kind of clarifying. We've got some folks that may be hearing this for the first time tonight. And we have been using the terminology separation, retirement, et cetera. This is really for those employees that retire from the city, not that separate.
That is correct.
Yeah.
You must meet retirement eligibility through ASRS or PSPRS to be eligible.
Yeah, so we're using this more as a retention tool for those employees who are considering perhaps going to a different community for perhaps a higher rate, but maybe in the long run this becomes more attractive reason to stay. So it's a retention tool. It's also a great recruiting tool, as we've got employees who come with a lot of experience that may want to come here for their last 10 years, bring that wealth of experience with them, and then hit that retirement threshold whenever that is for them. So it's a great recruiting tool from that perspective. And I think sometimes if you're hearing this for the first time, we've spent hours talking about the benefits of that. So I just wanted to make sure we kind of talked about it tonight. We've got this, the financial piece, and we've been given assurances by Jared that we've got that aspect of it covered. It's just $10 now or $100 later, or $100 now and $100 later, however we decide to do that. I think we were pretty clear at the last work session that we were going to leave that up to the manager and the staff to figure out how to do. So we are just kind of moving this forward tonight with a final yes, official yes. Is that correct?
That is correct.
All right. Thanks for all your hard work. I know you aren't the only one who's done it, so generically to all of the staff, thank you very much. We talked about this last year in January with hopes that we might be a little farther along, but if you're targeting April, then I'm with the vice mayor. Good luck. Thanks.
I just have one question that concerns our firefighters, and it's a biggie. What happens if firefighters with cancer fall short in legislation, but are forced off the job because of illness? Does this cover them?
So there are provisions that we'll be bringing forward for disability. So under disability, under both PSPRS or ASRS, there are disability criteria for retirement. If a firefighter or other employee were to qualify for those, they would be eligible for the plan as well.
That is it for sure. Because
That's what we'll be bringing back to council again. So council will have an opportunity to set that criteria
Okay.
one last time when we bring it back in.
Because I don't want firefighters where they are right now. We have one right now that's been fighting for 8 years, and it was because of the insurance plan. So I want to be sure that we don't have that again. We need to cover these guys. So when you bring that back, please make sure that's in there. Thank you.
You know, this is something I've been interested in for a long, long time, and I'm glad we're getting to this point. Very great discussion among all the council members, agreement with where all we're going, looking forward to when you come back with the policies that we've got detailed. The only thing, since we're not covering the post Medicare, that we have something in there that helps those navigate as far as a city option, that helps them navigate how they can pick up those supplementals or whatever. So I just want to make sure that's on there as well. Okay? So we just don't stop there. We allow that employee some assistance to figure out where they go from there. Okay?
Very good.
All right, with that, I guess we can go ahead and, we've got a motion and a second up there on the board. Can we go ahead and open voting? Passes 7-0. Thank you all the work, and hopefully in April we will see you again. All right. Council have any comments, commendations, reports on current events?
I've got a request.
Yes.
My request is I'd like to know what street work is being done on Hadley, if it is the city work or if it's a contractor work. When was it started and when is it going to be finished?
Okay, I see somebody making a note for you right
On
there.
Hadley. Thank you.
Go ahead.
So I've already brought this up to the city manager and staff, but I know Compass Church is having a problem with getting their second entrance into their church facility. So it's causing some of a safety issue. So I talked to staff. I'm not sure why we can't do a temporary permit to give them some relief, at least during the Christmas holiday and Easter. I know it has to come all the way back to council. We have to vote on it for them to be able to use their second entrance there. So,
It's the one we.
so I'm just trying to, I know it's too late for Christmas for them, but trying to get a temporary permit for them because I know they've had one in the past. So I'm not sure. And it's something that I know we, like the city manager, we need to look at the whole process around that, why we have to come all the way back to city council to approve that kind of use. So just really a statement to make it aware for people. So.
Thank you. Councilmember Stipp.
Thank you. I have a very specific request, and it is, and I have Councilmember Gillis and Councilmember Campbell are my three, that we have an executive session on January 8th to talk about the performance goals of the city manager and the delivery of the 2023 outcome. Related to performance, I'm looking at the attorney.
Yeah.
So it's under personnel, an executive session to talk about that before we have the discussion at the retreat on the following Thursday. So that would be January 8th, I think, is our next meeting. Shouldn't be very long, but I'd like to make sure we get that up there.
Okay, it's covered. All right, with
Oh,
that.
one more, I'm sorry.
Oh, you got one more?
Yeah, so what that memo triggered was my memory and going through notes at the end of the year. We had a discussion multiple times at the end of last year and the beginning of this year about traffic light preemption, and we were kind of working, I'm not sure who to look at anymore, which one of you three guys. So, but the traffic light preemption, and we were taking care of vehicles and turning them on, turning them off, et cetera. We never did get a final, where are we on that? Can we kind of wrap that up as well and find out, are we done? Have we got it all squared away? Because I know, if I remember correctly, we had 200 plus vehicles that were not emergency service vehicles that had preemption, and I think we were in the process of getting that turned off. I'd like to know that, like to have that confirmed before we start jacking with the traffic lights, to make sure we have that all taken care of. So those were my two things.
Good. Everybody okay? All right, with that, city manager, have anything?
This past Friday, we had our third Holiday on the Square event. It was themed How the Grinch Stole Goodyear. And it attracted over 3,500 people to the event on Friday.
Okay.
The event featured a live theater performance of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, presented by local theater group Creative Arts and Production Academy. Pictures with the Grinch on Santa's throne were available. Food trucks were there, and a commemorative ornament giveaway, as well as various craft activities were at the event.
Well, thank you. Wish everybody a happy New Year and a Merry Christmas, the holidays. Next meeting is January 8th. With that, we have nothing else. This meeting's adjourned.